Hola, everyone. This is Ana Garcia and my co-host in life, Shane Snyder. We have a celebrity in the house.
We do.
Shane used to work with him. NBC Cleveland news anchor and managing editor Russ Mitchell is with us tonight. How are you, Russ? Good to see
Hi,
you.
and Shane, it is great to see you. I'm looking for the celebrity you're talking about somewhere, but I'm the only one here,
Right
so I,
here.
I
You are the
presume
celebrity.
you're talking to me. It's very nice of you, but it is great to see both of you. Miss you.
Oh, we miss you too. We miss you too. So you are an inspiration to so many people. You probably don't think of yourself that way because you're so humble, but you are. So I wanted to ask you, if you could tell us about your rise to the top.
Well,
You're at the
you're
top.
very nice. You're very nice. It's interesting. You get to a point where I know I would tell people that I grew up watching. Wow, I grew up watching you. It's nice to meet you. And now I'm at that point where people say I grew up watching you, and I've discovered it's great, but at the same time it's like, hey, wait a minute, it's not possible. You couldn't have grown up watching me. Um, Thanks for the nice introduction. I've been very lucky in my career to know some great people, to have things come along, at the right time. And I'm still lucky to still be doing this after almost 40 years, but it's still a privilege and still something I look forward to every day.
Russ, the country changed last year. And I know as a journalist, you had a unique perspective, fitting, watching history unfold again. How does that, I mean, it was so hard to live through, but do you think we
Yeah.
came out on the better end because of it? Or do you think we just have that much more to go?
I hope you can
I
give
know
us
the,
some hope. Yeah.
well, the jury is still out on that. As we speak today, Governor DeWine has come out and said that more people can attend Indians games this spring and summer, and hopefully even more so can attend as we go forward. In the next week or so, he's expected to announce the lifting of the moratorium on proms and weddings and things like that. We've got two vaccines that are already out there, a third that, as we speak, is very close to being okayed right now. So it looks like we're, knock on wood, we are at the tail end of this. Things are certainly looking up, but I think to expect, as we all hoped, as we all would like, for things just to end because we snap our fingers, um, I think we're fooling ourselves in that regard. I don't know about you two, but I have so many friends who would say, I'll be glad when 2020 is over. Like on January 1st, 2021, things were going to change. And as we know, they did not. So the good news is we appear to be on the other side of this and moving out of it. And the bad news, if there is bad news, is we've probably still got a ways to go, or need to remain careful. And there's some things we may not be able to do for a while, or may not feel comfortable doing for a while.
Right. So, what advice can you give new journalists that are out there that want to break into the business?
This
You know, uh, well, a friend of mine would answer that, don't do it.
I was
It,
told that too a long time ago. Don't
is
do it.
that right? Don't do it. Here we are.
Here
Here
we
we are. Yeah, it's changed so much since we were coming up in the business. In many ways, it's harder. Um, this because there are a lot more people in it. The challenges that you have are greater than we probably had coming up. We had to master maybe 5 or 6 things, and today we're talking about mastering 10, 15, 20 with Zoom and the internet and those kind of things. I tell people all the time, if you want to do this, have a thick skin. Just know that you're going to have a lot of arrows shot your way. Don't take it personally. Uh, if this is something you really want to do, stick to it. Um, Try to learn from everyone you meet. Try to take something from every experience. But I think one thing that hasn't changed, Anna and Shane, is have fun. We're very lucky to work in a business where we do have the opportunity to have fun. We do have the opportunity to meet people that we normally wouldn't meet, have experiences we normally wouldn't have. So while all that's going on and you have the thick skin and you're trying your best, don't forget to have fun.
We're celebrating Black History Month this month, Russ, and you've been anchoring for many, many years. I'm not going to go into how many. I know, but I'm not going to go into how many.
He's messing with you.
But
Yeah, it's okay. I get it.
looking back at all your experiences, what has been like as an African American anchor? What has been one of the most proud moments you've had sitting in that anchor chair?
I've been very lucky to have had, some very memorable experiences. 9/11 certainly would be one. Being anchor and correspondent in New York City during that would certainly, be up there. But as you both know, there are those moments where you meet people who you didn't think you were going to meet, and I'm not necessarily talking about a celebrity or somebody you know, but someone who is going through maybe a rough time, who is you're catching at that fire, you're talking to at that fire or that crime scene at their home, and you're seeing them in the worst moment of their life, and then 2 weeks later you do a follow-up and you see someone lifting themselves out of that, and taking that experience and changing their lives in some way, and seeing them basically just rise from that occasion. I mean, we all know we're in these situations, and we see people at their most vulnerable moments, but to see them coming out of that, to see them rise from those moments, to me has been the most memorable part of my career. I can remember doing stories of meeting people in bad moments, and then catching up with them later, and how they've pulled themselves up, how they've helped themselves, and how they help others also. So when I think of those kind of moments, those would probably be the best examples I have of times in this business where I'm very proud. You mentioned Black History Month. I tell people all the time, and one of my favorite civil rights heroes, and there are many, of course, but is Rosa Parks. And I always think every day when I go to the anchor desk and I sit down, I go, if Rosa Parks had not said no that day, and had not refused to give up her seat, I don't know if I'd be sitting in that seat right now. There are, of course, many people you can put in that category, but symbolically, in so many ways, I think of her every time I go sit at the anchor desk.
So, just a couple things. Like, I just want to know something like, people want to know, who's your favorite baseball team? Who's your favorite basketball team? I was trying to put myself in the viewer's perspective, like somebody who's
Sure.
watching you for
Yeah.
years, maybe curious, favorite food, things like that. Something that you'd like
Well,
to share.
Well, since I've moved to Cleveland, I can tell you my favorite American League baseball team is the Cleveland Indians.
Uh-huh.
My favorite baseball team is the St. Louis Cardinals, only because I grew up in St. Louis, and I'm still a big Cardinals fan to this day. And my favorite food, what you got? There's nothing I certainly don't like, but it's interesting as you get older, the things you can't eat as much anymore because it's probably not good for you, which is a bad thing. Every time I see kids eating like double cheeseburgers on the street, one after another, I go, wow, I used to remember, but I could do that all the time.
I used to do that
Now,
too.
that's every once in a while, but that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love sports, love going to the movies, things like that.
Wonderful. Do you think the Browns will make it to the playoffs next year?
You know what? They had a great season this year, of course, and I'm pretty optimistic. They've got a great coach. It looks like the quarterback situation has been, worked out. Now, see, I've only been here 9 years. You guys have a much better perspective on this than I
Been
do.
covering them for a long time.
I got there when we didn't have a team, and then they came back. So yeah,
Okay.
I've been riding the misery train for many years. So I was glad to stay home this year and actually watch it on television. I think that was the most amazing. And I think the thing that made it most special is I was with my family. We were able to watch it on television like most of all of Cleveland. So it was a very special time. And we kind of tried to make this time special. We feel like we're in a spaceship all the time, right? We're traveling through space, and life isn't going to be back to normal for a couple of years, but
couple years.
Sorry, that's reality.
Oh,
wow, Shane.
But it's been fun. I mean, we've had a great time. We're reaching out to people via Zoom now. We can go across the world, and it's been quite amazing. We've been, since we've since I've left the station, we've been to the Caribbean several times, and
Oh wow, yeah.
we did the documentary Secrets of the Caribbean out there. It's been
With Tom, right? Yeah.
Tom,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
we're keeping our Facebook show going. So it's nice to evolve, you know. It's nice
Yeah.
to go beyond the ferns, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe you can
Because
join us sometime for one of the trips.
that would be
I
fun.
am, I'm in. I am.
We don't have to sing
we
for
we have a mutual friend, of course, Tom Jacobs, who sends me, a video from those trips, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's not a bad gig. It's not a bad deal at all.
No, not at all. One last thing. If you could talk to a younger you, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question.
Share
there,
like.
there is so much there is so much advice I would give my younger self. I don't even know if there's one thing. I don't know how long this program is. I don't know if we have time for me to go through all the things I would tell my younger self. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and the subject came up: would you go back to high school? Would you go back to middle school if you could? And we both agreed we would, only if we knew what we knew now. If we had to go back and be what we were, then I don't think so. But that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe an umbrella answer would just be probably be patient. Those kind of things. I think I've been patient, but I could have been more patient over the years, certainly. So I guess the number one, it would be that, be patient. But trust me, there's so many other things I would
Yeah.
tell young Russell Mitchell from Rock Hill, Missouri.
Well, we have our 21-year-old here. He's here from California, and so I find myself, because we've had him for a year, thank goodness, and so I just, every time I see him, I want to tell him something that I did wrong, that he could do better, and he's wonderful because he listens. Not everybody
Yeah.
would listen, but I'm just, be patient, and everything else that a mother would want for their son, right?
And that's a great feeling, isn't it? Because my daughter, my oldest daughter, we have those same conversations, and I'm very lucky. As it sounds like you are as well. She will call me at 8:30 in the morning about something happening at work and ask me, how do you think I should handle this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm honored.
Yeah.
So as you both know, that's the reward for all that. You can share the wisdom that you've learned over the years with your kids. I mean, nothing better than that.
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful. Russ, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We miss you. We love watching you on television, and we can't wait to see you in person again.
Absolutely.
Very
Well, Shane and Anna, it's great to see you. Miss you as well. And hopefully, when this is all over, we'll have that beverage we talked about.
Absolutely. Maybe we even have it in the Caribbean.
Oh, wow. It's getting better every second here. I love it.
Russ Mitchell, thank you so much. You truly are one of the great ones. Thank you so much.
You're so nice. Thank you. Great to see you both.
Hey, what's up? Today we're going to do lobster tails. The ingredients we're going to need is olive oil, lemon, paprika, your seasoning of choice. I'm using garlic clovers, your lobster tails, and a skillet pan, and some good kitchen shears. Hey, what's up? Today we're going to do lobster tails, but first, now I'm ready. So I'm allergic to shellfish, so I am wearing gloves. I also have Benadryl, just in case. So these are 4 ounces each. I'm gonna start off by rinsing them. So now I'm gonna use some shears. Cut that bad boy down the middle. Now you want to be careful when you're trying to separate these from the shell, that you don't crack the shell. It's no big deal, but you want to separate the lobster meat itself from the membrane. As you can see, I'm trying not to get it on myself, but once I do take it out, you can see it comes up pretty nice. I'm just going to go ahead and lay it back over the lobster shell itself. so I can place it to cook. Just like that. Go ahead and do this one also. Again, here I'm just kind of tugging on the meat itself, separating it from the shell. That's going to be the visual that you see. Now, these are only 4 ounces each, so they're not huge, but for the purpose today, they will work. So I'm going to go ahead and pour olive oil on the lobster tails, and then I'm going to go ahead and massage it in, kind of get it all in, all around. See that? And that's just so the flavoring can stick some. So I'm going to start off. So I'm going to start off by adding paprika. Then I'm going to add some garlic lovers seasoning. You can use any seasoning of your choice. I would use lemon pepper also. Next, I'm going to add some lemon. Then I'm going to place it in the cast iron skillet. Now you can cook this in the oven or on the smoker. If you cook it in the oven, cook it at 400 degrees for less than 10 minutes until internal temperature is 145. If you cook it in the smoker, cook it for at least at 375 for under 15 minutes until internal temp is 145. I just took these out and you can tell these bad boys are done. I serve with filet mignon, mashed potatoes, and asparagus.
Good evening. Even though it's very clearly the morning, welcome to UCS Good News, UCSGN for short. Of course, this is our weekly Zoom broadcast where we showcase positive news stories from all over the school community. And this week, just like last week, we reached out to you, your nephews, your nieces, your imaginary friends. We asked you to share some good news. And the response, as usual, was Jim Dandy to the rescue, as they say. We always say on this program that we get to share the good news, but you are the good news. So we want to thank everybody who shared a story this far this year and for all the positivity. It's time for some good news. All right, the pandemic didn't stop our UCS preschoolers from showing their appreciation for frontline workers this week. They spent the first 2 weeks of February writing and drawing thank you letters to the doctors, nurses, and staff at Metro Health. On February 18th, despite the cold and the snow, students walked over to the health clinic to deliver their cards and letters personally. They were greeted by many healthcare workers. The students were so proud to be able to actually meet some of our frontline workers who were helping to make our community staff. They hung all the cards up inside and that said that seeing us and receiving our cards was the highlight of their day.
I'm your host, Ana Garcia, with The Ana Show, changing your world for good. This episode is sponsored by our friends at Urban Community School and the Coleman Spawn Corporation and Don Tequila in Canton and Mentor. Have a great week, everyone. Vaya con Dios.
Welcome to Don Tequila.
You can enjoy authentic Mexican dishes, the crazy pineapple, la piña loca, stuffed with beef, chicken, and shrimp, the Ohio State burrito, and they make fresh guacamole right in front of you. A full bar with top shelf tequila with drinks like the Jumbo Margarita and the Michelada. Visit Don Tequila in Manor and at these locations. And if you mention the Ana Show when you go to Don Tequila, they will take 10% off your bill. Mention the Ana Show.